G'day, welcome back. Quick video today. I haven't done a video on chess software, open source chess software, all the resources which are available on the internet for people to use when they're doing their chess studies. So I thought I'd do a quick one on a use case I've come up with recently. Now, as you know, I've done a couple of my book studies, and the book study is not really reviews or anything. It's just going through old strategy books, which I grew up with, recording the games in a lichess study, and then looking at a few of the more interesting games in it. And what I wanted to do was kind of summarize this information in terms of what games have traditionally been looked back and viewed as important in game collections and game studies, and also some particular positions, and the Saavedra position springs to mind. So I just wanted to see, how often these things have been included in previous books. Now, what I kind of needed for that is a way of converting the lichess studies into an Excel spreadsheet so that I can sort of then do some indexing and comparing and seeing what's what. Now, that's the background of what we're going to go through today. And as if the thumbnail's kind of explaining it there, I've used this tool called pgn2data. There are other tools out there. You could try other tools. In fact, AI Slop tells me that Skid versus PC can do it, but I couldn't find a way of doing it. It may well be in there. I just couldn't find it. So we're going to use pgn2data, and we're going to come up with this is just the first step, because obviously I only covered 4 books so far: the Purdy one, the Lasker one, the Irv one, and the Abrahams one. So there's not many, sort of about 100 games in total. So we won't get many trends from that, but obviously as we proceed with other books, I'll be able to get a bit of a better idea which of the classic games are the most important. Okay, so the first thing to do might be just to go to a capture screen. We'll get back to the end. I'll just show you what you have to do here, right? So if you look at the Google search here, I just searched for, there's a few here. There's PGN to CSV, PGN to CSV by different people, I believe. And then the one I've chosen is ZQ99. These are very old repositories, by the way. It hasn't been changed for 3 years. PGN to data, and you need Python chess as a tool. So let's quickly install this. I've done it already, of course. We can just run it again. It's very easy to install. Basically, you just do pip install pgn2data, and it will normally run. I think it's already in there, so it didn't do anything. Okay, that's good. And then it actually shows you how to use it. Basically, you import his main function, pgn-data. You send it, give it a pgn file, and you run it, and it creates 2 files. Just have a quick look at how it works. In this directory, I've got a file called onegame.pgn, and I'll just edit this. I mean, obviously this could be a command line instruction. That's simply the code I've just showed you. Run it. And so you started with, the PGN. This created the game info one's the one I'm most interested in. This we can set as a CSV, we can load into an Excel, and it's got all the basically grabbed all the tags from the start of the PGN, and then it's created another file, by the way. We'll just have a quick look at it, which is actually listing all the moves. We won't need that one. We can have a look at it later. So got the tool installed. Perfect, right? So what's the next step going to be? Let's get our downloads from lichess, right? So now I'll switch across to my lichess capture, and it's very simple. So we go learn, study, and then I got my studies for starters. Pick one of them just for fun. And then you've got the sharing option here, and we want the whole study. Study PGN, you chapter PGN, copy the current PGN of that game. Anyway, so you click study PGN, we'll create a file. I'm going to create a second duplicate file. That'll go wherever your downloads go. And then that's that one. And basically it's very quickly just step through them all. Wanted. Probably studies I contribute to might be better. And there's Abraham's, click on that one. Once again, you click the share button, study PGN. So very quickly, you can do that very quickly. Obviously, you probably have a set of these PGNs, and you do it once at a time. When you've finished your book study, okay, let me switch back to, I've got rid of the other stuff. So there's a CSV file for one book, just fun, just for blood. And you can see what it does. It basically gets all the game tags, sticks them in a different column. And this book was an entertaining book. It didn't have too many games in it. Lasker Bauer, I think Double Miss Sacrifice, so Tarish, and then the amazing King Chase in Lasker Thomas. Okay, so good. Close that one. And this is all of them together. Now, it's good to sort of work out what you need as you go along. I've realized as I do this that it doesn't actually distinguish between the studies in the PGN file, so I might have to go back and rewrite it a little bit and keep separate PGN files and save the file name as a column so that we know which book it was from. And you can see what happens. All these ones at the top, by the way, they're all the sort of the null headings I have in my empty chapters, where I was just using it as a sort of a chapter marker effectively. And then now you've got the list of games. And I'll point out a couple of things here, that these two positions here, the Saavedra position, that's been there twice, excellent. Now, if you remember just the one I just did, the book Botvinnik Konstantinopolsky, was actually done twice as a middle game theme and the end game theme. So I'd have to sort of filter for that. The only real double game I think I've got here so far, as I mentioned before, was the Immortal Zhuang game between Samish and Nimzo. Right, so quite happy with the way that has worked. And then I said we've got to make a few little changes so that what you can imagine doing is just creating an index field or index column based on maybe the year and the white and the black. You need some fuzzy logic because sometimes it's Capablanca, sometimes it's Capablanca Jose. So, and then you'd use that to sort of clarify or classify which ones are reported multiple times by doing a unique on that key. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to do, just show pretty quickly, I've got another spreadsheet here. I just put all the names of the players, white or black, in one big column, did a pivot table. There's obviously better ways of doing that, but just to get a sense of, through time, who has had their games represented the most in these studies. Now, this is mainly from the book, effectively, beginner's strategy book from 1951. And you can see that who gets mentioned the most in the combination of these books, obviously, right? So Alekine, Botvinnik, Capablanca all get mentioned 8 times. Well, that's pretty good representation. Nobody can complain about those players. Ove gets mentioned 7 times because he mentions a few of his own games. Nothing against that. I think Gormali was saying something like, obviously, these authors use their own games. In one case, they want to show all their amazing wins, but the second case is they've obviously played the game, analysed the game, studied the game, and know about the ideas in it. It's much easier for them to sort of use that in their books. Got Floor, quite high up actually. Nimzo, Lasker, Fine, Spielman, Eliskazes. That was a double counting because I think that was that Bishop and Knight endgame. Keres doesn't get so many. Kotov, Tarash, and so on. So basically a who's who of the players of the first half of the last century. And then what you probably find as you go down this list, a lot of these people who have played one game are probably the patsies who get beaten up, but still very good players down there, no doubt about it, right? So that's quite interesting. As I build that, that'll be more interesting. And also, this is going to evolve with time because the one I'm working on at the moment, if you look here, is the one on simple chess. And once again, you can sort of see straight away the difference in the players. Anderson, Karpov, obviously, his games are great. And then Spassky, Fischer, like this game I'll definitely go through. The quite famous that from the candidates where he entered the Fischer endgame. Natal, another Fischer. So Michael Steen, he's a generation further on, I guess. His book's from the late 70s, if I remember correctly. So he's got Botvinnik there, but he's going to have a lot of these great Russian players of the post-World War II era, along with European players and Fischer and so on, and Powerbanker, Najdorf, there's the sorts of players you would expect to be represented in a strategy book updated for the time. So that's going to be another interesting thing we can sort of see as I go through a few more of these strategy books. Right. Okay. So look, that was just the next step in my little sort of adventure here. I just used a very simple tool, pgn2 data, and it's doing what I want. I'm trying to sort of collect the games which are in the these strategy books which I'm going through. So I hope you find that useful. It could be a tool you might use to sort of gather information on your own games. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much for watching.